It's David James with Dave Hampton, and welcome to Bit About Crypto. I'm the Job Whisperer, and I'm the BTC Recruiter. So if you're looking for a job in crypto or blockchain or NFTs, or those are things that excite you and you want to actually reparent your skills, you should call me. You should call us because there's a future for you in the blockchain space. And if you have a project and you're looking for people, we aggregate them. We have all this. So I want to welcome now the Robo Recruiter.
Thank you.
Dave Hampton. How are you, man?
I'm doing very well.
Now, what have you been doing last week?
Let's see here. Just got back from vacation.
Where'd you go?
Charleston, South Carolina.
All right. Did you take the family?
We did. Yeah.
All right.
We did. They didn't want to leave. It's a very charming town, South Carolina.
A lot of kids in the summer don't want to leave vacation.
Charleston's very charming. They really enjoy themselves there.
And, us living in San Diego, and you, of course, we both had our stints in New York. Isn't it amazing how polite people in the South are?
Yeah. They were.
Yeah,
I wasn't surprised by it. I'm from the South, so. Texas
is not part of the South.
Oh, it's part of the South.
It's part of the Midwest.
It's not part of the Midwest.
I'll show you where it is on the map. Now, if you fought for the secession, I guess it's the South.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, clearly. So, that's good. So welcome everybody to Bit About Crypto. And, the emphasis of this show is for the folks who actually really, if you don't know much about crypto and you want to learn more, we actually have a platform where we bring on a new guest who talks about their experience. And I just want to say thank you for all the comments and all the compliments in the comment section. If anybody is sending you something on Telegram saying, hey, it's David James or it's Dave Hampton, call my Telegram channel. We're not asking for any money. Okay, we're not going to call you and ask you to send us any of your crypto or any of your Bitcoin. That's not what we do. It's the purpose of this is for evangelism on blockchain and all the wonderful things that are actually happening in the world, how the world is just changing around us. So, David, so for those of you who don't know, I actually had a job in 2013 for a large recruiting firm in San Diego, and the job was to actually build recruiters from scratch. And you were one of those applicants. You applied, right? And I hired you, right?
Yes.
And what did you say to me as far as how good you were going to be? What did you say?
I said, if you hire me, I will be the best recruiter you ever hire in your life.
How many recruiters do you think I've hired in my life? Hundreds.
Thousands,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know about thousands, but hundreds.
Okay.
Hundreds, yeah. And how many do you think have said that to me?
I would probably say a large percentage.
A large percentage, yeah. But you did it. You absolutely did it, right? And then a few years later, I got disenfranchised with the leadership of that firm. And I said to you, I am leaving the firm. And what did you say to me?
You're not without me.
Yeah. And then I said, yeah, I'm pretty much leaving without you. And then what did you do then?
I recruited you to come with me.
Yeah, pretty much you did. And there's a reason I actually bring that story up. Because David is actually 17 years my junior. And in a lot of ways, he's my boss, right, in the recruiting firm, at least at that time. And, we're partners and peers. But it was decided that he'd be the president and I'd be the chief operating officer because, I'm going to step out on age. And the reason that story is such parallel is because the gentleman we're going to speak to today actually has the same story about that. He trained a young prodigy, Amin, who actually can't make it today because he actually had emergency root canal. So I'll let our guest talk about that. But yeah, I was thinking about having the two of them on, right? And there's the same age disparity, and they became partners, right? Because I remember I'd spoken to during a DeFi conference, and he's talking. He says, "Well, actually, Gregory, he's my partner. Well, actually, he was my boss." And I said, "Well, I've got a very similar story." But one of the things that really impressed me about you is you started asking me questions that no one else. This is before we became partners, when we worked together. You were talking about things such as, "Hey, do you have any goals?" I remember when you first asked me that, I went, that's none of your business. I thought it. But then I asked myself, David, James, do you really have any active goals right now? Because what a lot of people do is they put the picture of the nice car on the wall, they get it, and they leave that car up there, right? And goals are over. And I don't think I've ever told you this, but I had goals, but I'd reached them mostly, and I didn't have a clear definition. So I really was formulating some goals, and we've spoken about it since, and thanks to you and our partnership, those goals have been reached and exceeded, and now the new goals are beyond the life of my expectation that I ever thought I would get to. However,
you got to dream big.
yeah, but also, you are one of the. I mean, I didn't know this was going to. I didn't think this was going to be a show where I like pump you up, but I remember you were so dedicated to working out no matter what, and barring. I mean, I've never seen you stop working out barring a physical injury. And you also said that I guess it was you and your wife, or you and your best buddy from Texas, the principal. You were saying that we challenge each other to read a book a month, right? Remember that you started challenging me to reading, and I started, and I didn't take it first, but I've been very voracious in my reading as you. Well, our guest, and he's going to get to talk about this, but what if I told you that he founded a leadership institute? Right. And the objectives were to reach financial autonomy, which is kind of like what we're all about with evangelizing blockchain. And really, when you stop and think about just helping people get jobs, I mean, there's nothing more precious or spiritual than helping people get daily bread, right?
Yep.
But basically, he wants their students to reach financial autonomy, and each and every of their students in their third year of study will need to start a successful business. I mean, that's what you're responsible for going in. And number two, to change the world. All right. Success in life cannot be reached by only making money. Right. And it's like, this dude gets it. Right.
Yeah.
He understands that money needs to be the byproduct of the thing that's enhancing community or the world or whatever that, without that being a cliched thing. And he says that our students in a 3-year period will learn a new language, English or French, a new one. So for me, it would be French.
Right.
Right. And I think he's kind of biased because he speaks both really well, but anyhow, that's
Is he
kind
Canadian?
He's very Canadian.
Okay.
You'll see what he's talking, right? But listen, this is what, when I read this, I said, I'm going to talk about this with Dave Hampton. Read more than 8,000 pages from the best leadership and business books. 8,000 pages.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that's a big ask.
50 books if they're 400 pages each. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Participate in 70 discussions and debates. Participate in teleconferences with business leaders from Africa, all over the United States. But anyhow, the way I got to this guy was I was speaking to his partner Am, and they have a unique offering of aggregating via a social media platform, and as it relates to new offerings, whether they're blockchain offerings. And I don't want to. I thought it was really brilliant. This guy and his partner, you're going to see they're going to be huge. This idea is, I would say if I was challenged to make it fail, I don't know how I could. So with no further ado, I'd really like to bring on our guest, Gregory Van Duyse. Did I say it correct?
Close. Gregory Van Duyse.
So that's a no. That's a no. You did not say it correct.
Very Canadian response there. Very nice.
Yeah, but every time I've talked to him, he's like the epitome of like polite. Right. And of course, that was just so thank you for the grace. So anyhow,
no problem.
So thanks for coming on a bit about crypto.
Yeah. Thank you for the intro. That was really cool. Just happy to be with you guys.
Yeah. So where on the globe are you? Are you in Quebec?
No, I was born in Quebec. I was born in Montreal. And now I live in Western Alberta, Canada. So that's west, just north of Montana. Yeah,
so I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people who are either from Montreal or Toronto or whatever. They say, well, I grew up here, but I went west for warmer. I mean, that's kind of what happens in America, too. People go to the West Coast for warmer. But Montana's not all that warm, right?
No, it wasn't really the weather. It was mostly family. My wife had sisters that lived here, and so we just got closer to family.
Right, interesting. So okay, let's. I ask everybody this. So tell me about your formative years, like K through 12, like growing up. I mean, I'm just going to be stereotyped. Did you play hockey?
Yes, but I was really bad. I didn't get it.
Well, being good is not a requirement. It's not.
I know. Well, I was really bad. The story is anyway. I don't want to get into the story.
You don't have to. Then you don't.
I was really bad at hockey. Mostly I was dyslexic when I was young, so I failed my first grade. I had to start grade 1 again. Like, who does that? But
hold on a second. Have you cured your dyslexia, or have you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible. I just it's an ignorance to me. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a different way that the brain works. Actually, a lot of entrepreneurs end up we're dyslexic. It's just a very normal trait. We just think differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, really happy. Just grew up in a French Canadian family. Went to the U.S. for my university.
Mm-hmm.
Came back. I got married when I was 23.
Okay.
I have 7 children now, but yeah, first child at 25, and just living life, trying to do projects,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to do some good in the world at the same time.
Yeah, which is admirable, right? And being recruiters, we have how do I say this? We have this psychic intuition about candidates, hiring authorities, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's funny because people have said, "Man, I really want to work for Google." Or when I was younger, basically everybody said I want to work for Disney, right? And I'm not trying to slander, but basically the working conditions were so bad that it was called Mauschwitz. I mean, literally, that's what they would call it. And literally, if they would say, if you don't come in on Saturday, if you don't come in on Sunday, don't bother coming in on Monday. I was literally, I had a friend of mine who worked there for 18 years. He says, David, my mental health, I had to quit, and I had to get psychiatric help. Of course, I'm sure that's a bit of an overstatement. But what I'm saying is that, and you would think working at Walmart's not the most exciting thing. But there are people who've worked at Walmart, and people don't realize that Walmart pays for childcare and all this stuff. So, and I actually learned this from my partner Dave Hampton, and he said that, and I never really thought about. I knew it, I just never really thought about it. He says people don't quit companies; they quit managers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm saying that to you is I can see why someone like would have wanted to stay with you, but I really want to talk about how you kind of got started, right? So you get done with university, right? And I guess your first job is you work in knowledge management in the Canadian Health. Then you became a mortgage broker, and then pretty much you like for the last 14 years, you've been an entrepreneur of sorts. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think I've always been entrepreneurial, and whenever I failed at a business, I would get a job to pay off the debt that I needed to start the business, and then get back on my feet and start another business. So that's what happened in 1999. I read a marketing book for how to market online. I tried it, actually trying to sell golf clubs on the internet. Now, in 1999 is really early for the internet. It didn't really work out that fast. So I got a job as a knowledge management worker for Canada Health Infoway for a couple of years. Left that, decided to go into mortgages. I built a website, and I did a lot of SEO. The website started getting 300 to 400 leads a month. So I would take the best ones, I would sell the other ones to other brokers and make commission on that. And then I thought, what else can I sell? And so I started selling mortgage insurance. I built a company called Info Primes in Quebec, and we started selling mortgage insurance. And I sold that. I kept going with the SEO. I built an SEO firm, and then at that point, I was like, I need to do something with my life, my life. Sorry. So I
Freudian
decided that I
slip?
would.
Is that a Freudian slip?
No, it's not. I'm happily married. I
No,
have
no, no,
no
no. I didn't mean it
problems.
like that. As in, my wife says, you got to do more things with me, right? Yeah.
No, actually, no. He thinks I have too many projects going
Oh,
on, so
okay.
that's the reverse.
Okay.
But I read a book. I read Tim Ferriss' book, The 4 Hour
For
Work
our
Week,
work week.
and the idea of retire young, retire often really kicked in for me. So I decided to retire on cash flow. I had a business that was making enough money on cash flow. And so just before I turned 40, I decided, let's go on an adventure. And that's the first time that we went to Africa. So I took my 5 children at the time, and we went to Benin, West Africa, and just to see how we could help. I didn't have any agendas. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just thought I can do some good. And while I was there, it was just so clear how many people were looking for work. They had university degrees, they had education, they had everything that they needed, but like everybody needed a job. And it's a country there is no jobs. I think probably 5% of people have what we would call today a job. Um, and and so I said, well, if you're gonna be trying to find work in a place where there's no work, you might as well start your own business. So I started a school, Vanda's Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute, that taught young people at the university level to become entrepreneurs, to start businesses for themselves, to take the future into their own hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first, year and a half away, trying to do some good, just trying to help people out. And so since then, my goal has been to retire every 7 years.
Hold on
So,
1 second. You're 40.
sorry.
No. It's not your story. This is so fascinating. You're 40, and all of a sudden you're mowing the lawn one day, and a drop of sweat comes down, and you all of a sudden, that's the inspiration. You know what? I'm picking up sticks, and I'm moving all 7 of us to Benin, West Africa. I mean, I really want to hear about the inspiration or the divinity that occurred that you knew that this was the thing to do. Was it like a vacation? I'm going to stay or what?
No, it was actually a dream.
Okay,
So
let's
it
hear
was
about
a
it.
goal that I had to go and live in another country that was poorer, and to not only see how life was for them, but to actually make a difference. So even, when I got married, my wife and I were talking about going to India. We had never done anything like that. And so when I read Tim Ferriss' book, The 4-Hour Work Week, I went on my computer and I printed like 780 pages that says hard stop, 780 days to go. And so I had like this stack of 700 pieces of paper. It was about this high. And then every day I would take a piece of paper off my desk and it would go down, not only the pile went down, but the number went down.
Uh-huh.
So I had to find a way to go and retire in 780 days. And, and so I was always telling people I'm this close to retirement.
Oh my God.
This close.
Hold on, stop.
That's the pile of paper.
Stop.
And so
It was
on my mind.
I told my partner, right? I think 8 days before my 57th birthday, I said, I will be your partner for 8 days and 5 years. On my 62nd birthday, I don't care. I don't care if I'm homeless. I'm retiring. I won't be homeless. But I'm just saying, I have to live my life in such a way where I'm not chasing a dollar. And when you just said that thing about the pieces of paper, I'm doing it. As soon as I get back, to my desk, right, next week, I'm doing it. I'm gonna count those out. I'm gonna stack it all up, and I'm gonna number them. Okay, I might have somebody else number them for me, but you know what I mean. I'm doing it.
No, you take an Excel spreadsheet and you go from number 1 down, and then you take a mail merge with your Word document, and then it prints them all for you all in one shot. It's really fast.
Hold on a second. You see why he's the guest and I'm just the host? Because I was going to get a bunch of paper. I was going to count
you're
out
actually a number them out. Yeah,
one at a time.
That's called being old school or baby boomer, right? So.
Wow. You got to hurt me with the truth.
Oh, I'm just speaking the truth. I mean,
he's smarter. He's taller. The only thing I beat him at is golf, right? And I don't even know how much longer
his days are numbered on that too.
Yeah. And you'll never beat me. Anyhow,
you make a bet?
Okay, we digress. So this is wonderful. Okay, so back to this. I'm going to retire in these 700 days.
780. I forget the number exactly.
Okay, this is fascinating.
Something like that. And so it was November 11th, 2011. So that was the day, 11/11/11. That's why I picked that day, because it was a cool day. And so I retired on that day. My wife and I had been praying to know where should we go? Which country? I wanted to go to a country in Africa. I spoke French, but I didn't want to bring my kids to a place that was going to be dangerous.
Right.
That was going to
create. So Somalia was out.
Risk.
Right?
Exactly.
Ivory Coast was out.
Exactly.
Right.
Especially then.
Yeah.
So we went to Benin, and the reason why Benin, first of all, we felt prompted by God to go there, but also because nobody's ever heard of it. Like, it's a safe place. When you hear an African country that nobody's ever heard of, it's because nothing really big happens there. So we went there, and I went with my wife for the first 2 weeks. And we just scouted the place, found an apartment, came back home, packed 28 bags, the kids, everybody in the plane, let's go to Africa. And we stayed there for about 15 months. And like I say, we ended up building a university level school to teach entrepreneurship. and came back home, and I founded a mobile game development company with one of my business partners, Dustin McKay. We grew it from nothing to selling it for 7 figures to a Japanese firm, and hired. And that's why I learned to hire. We had like 30 staff at one point, so we learned how to hire really well, really fast, from around the world.
Easy. You're going to put me out of a job. Take it easy with that. So go.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of work to hire the right people.
Well, I've always said this, and for those of you listening, the most difficult thing that a company ever has to do is termination or firing. It's the most difficult, regardless of the circumstances. The second worst, hiring, because most people are so inefficient at it, but yet they think they're good at it. So yeah. I did an entire TED Talk about that, but I digress. But continue on.
No, I think it's important because like my first attitude towards hiring is hire fast, fire faster, right? So hire 3 people, fire 2, and then you keep the best. But that's really not an efficient way. And so we started hiring people around the world, like our developers, our artists, our game designers were around the world. And there's amazing people to hire in so many countries. And it doesn't cost as much. I mean, that's what I found. So we built our company completely decentralized, not in the crypto sense, but in the physical sense.
No, our company is also decentralized too, so we're familiar with that. We have people in Asia, and we have people in India, which technically is also Asia. So
yeah,
okay.
And so we did that. I sold the company, and I went on my second retirement again to Benin, West Africa. And we went a bit more north, a bit further out.
Let's just stop for a second. So the institute, the Van Duyse Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute, you were there for 15 months, but it still continues to this day, correct?
It does.
It's fantastic. Okay.
And so we went there, and actually the next project I started creating in Africa is a family-based orphanage. So basically it's an orphanage where the children, rather than living inside of a big building with 300 kids, they each live in a family. And so that's another project that I'm working on as we speak.
So you didn't really do an orphanage. You created a foster care ideology, correct?
Yeah.
So there's nurturing.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. There's caring from parents, because 90%, maybe even 99% of all orphanages in Africa are institutional orphanages, which we don't see in our countries because it's no longer allowed. But over there, it's a bit like, it's like, again, big institutions.
Got to be brutal.
Care of hundreds of
Got to be brutal.
So, and it's an orphanage because legally the government doesn't have a foster program. So we created the orphanage as a legal structure, and inside of it created a foster program.
So not knowing much about Benin, right? And if you were to tell me that like an orphanage in Somalia, well, I know why there's orphans in Somalia, right? Or Darfur, is because there's civil war. What is is there just natural that there are parental deaths or parental absences in all societies? Or is there something that's a procuring cause that causes the orphans? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, poverty, extreme poverty. So what happens is that a lot of families don't have a lot of means to live on. So they cut a lot of corners, whether it's food or health. And they just can't pay for everything that they need to pay. Like if you look at a family that makes $100 a month, they can't survive. And so they're cutting corners, and people die, whether children die or parents die. And they don't die of starvation all the time, but they die of sickness. But the sickness is caused by other realities, and that's because of extreme poverty. So there is a lot more death. Actually, one of the stories that surprised me so much in Africa is that the biggest day of the year is New Year. And like Christmas is a little thing. New Year is like everybody spends a ton of money to celebrate New Year's. And I was like, why are you spending all this money celebrating New Year's? He says, because I survived the last year.
Wow.
My eyes have seen the new year. I need to celebrate that. Now, how many of us celebrate that we survived last year? I've never done that.
No, if you think
that they're in.
If you think about culture, right? And I'm assuming you don't drink alcohol. I don't drink alcohol, right? I'm just But the majority of the Western culture, I'm talking here in North America, on New Year's, they get plastered, right? They get obliterated. They get they put themselves out of consciousness, and it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So they're just celebrating. So I think it's the poverty, to answer your question. I think it's actually in Africa. I've never heard people call it poverty. They call it suffering. That's what they say.
Interesting.
They never say I'm poor. They just say I'm suffer. I suffer. So
Wow.
that's what I've been. I came back. I've been, looking for different business projects, and then Am
Yeah.
came to me and said, "This thing is blowing up. Come and join us." And basically, we've been able to create a fund, a venture capital fund that invests in early startups for crypto, but also to do marketing for crypto projects. And that's how they all work together. The projects are really interested in us being able to do some amazing marketing for them, reaching millions of people through influencer marketing. And at the same time, we have opportunities to invest in these early projects before the initial coin offering or before the IDO. We get to invest in these projects and help them succeed.
So before we get into that, I wanted to ask you this question, and I know you coming from gaming, but how did crypto or blockchain or Bitcoin, how did it find you?
When I sold my business, we invested some money in buying some Bitcoin miners. Actually, we were mining.
Okay.
That's the first time I heard about it, and so we did that, and got interested a little bit, and it's just developed from there. But also just the work that I do right now and talking to different projects, looking at their technology, reading the white papers, trying to understand what they do, and doing the marketing for them has been really, really interesting. But yeah, it was probably 2017, 18 when we started doing the mining first.
Okay. So yeah, so you so talk about your current project and where you are right now.
Well, we started being able to invest in these projects and seeing um, how much exposure that we could show to some of these projects through um, TikTok influencing. And so we have a group of 50 influencers that work with us. They represent about 10 million of followers. And when we find a really interesting projects, we're able to talk about it and to share with the world what's happening, what's new, why this technology is actually changing the world and making a difference. And it's really, really exciting. There's some really cool stuff happening in the space.
So when you say that you have 50 influencers, of those influencers, if you were to aggregate all the likes or followers that the 50 influencers have, if you were to say, hey, this is command, everybody go out and attack, how many actual pair of eyes can they all reach combined?
It's a really good question. We've never done a campaign with every single
Right.
50 influencer at the same time.
Because they're different.
I don't have, because based on the project, we get to choose which influencers do well. And also the influencers are not controlled by us in any way. They get to choose if this is a project that they like, if they believe in it, if this is something that they want to talk about. So there's a bit of us selling the projects to the influencers and the influencers wanting to participate. But together they have 10 million followers. The project that we had the most views was the Mina Protocol, and we got 5.6 million views on that campaign.
Over what period of time?
So, about 2-3 weeks.
It's pretty
It
good.
keeps growing. It's probably not the full 5 million for 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
but because it keeps growing after that,
Right.
So if I look on the tag today for that project, that's what it would show about. And we do kind of two things. We sometimes work with project to talk about one event, whether it's the launch of their token. We do that often, but also some projects really work with us on a long-term basis. So as they develop their roadmap, as they keep developing and programming and building the technology that they've promised, while they were doing the IDO, they want to keep being known. They want to keep being relevant in the
Right.
space.
That's the
There's
word.
so many projects out there. There's so many things happening that it's hard to keep people's attention. And so if you're not known, you might be great. It just means you're still not known. So
Right. Not known is not known. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And greatness sometimes brings the knowledge. Like people get to know you when you're great, but there's a lot of great stuff happening and people don't know it just because they're not known. So
Kind of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a great thing, and it's not. No. I make this analogy, right? You want to, take. If I was to say to you, what's the most dominant search engine in the world? You'd say,
I'd say Google.
right, and it's dominant and it's well known. And if I'd say, what's the most dominant shopping cart online for goods? You'd say,
Shopify. Or Amazon.
Amazon, right. And it's well known. And I'd say, what's the best digital financial network in the world? Right? You and I would say Bitcoin, but 98.5% of them would say Visa. Right?
Yeah, but you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Like it's kind of taking some momentum because
you don't have to tell me.
It's taking some momentum. Listen to this.
Okay.
I was about 4 months ago. I'm talking to my mom. Now I'm 48 years old. My mom is in her 70s. And my mom, I didn't tell her anything about crypto. My mom's saying, hey, I started investing in crypto. I have this coin, and this coin. And out of nowhere, she comes out with that. I'm like, wow, if my mom is starting to know about it, that is like, it's making some traction.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just, my enthusiasm. I'll tell you how I knew it was taking traction. It was about 7 months ago. I was with this cat right here, and we were walking, I think, through a grocery store. And I walked by the, I don't want to say Coinbase, it's the word, but it's Coinstar. Coinstar, and for those of you who are not familiar with Coinstar, not everybody is, it's a device by the exits in the grocery stores where people will bring their change, back when they used to actually have change, right?
Now there's a coin shortage, right?
Yeah. So anyhow, I realized, and I've seen these machines for years because I placed an auditor who actually worked there, and all of a sudden now they're saying, and mostly like it's the people that are very poor collect their change and they use it, right? Because it's just that's what the market is. Now at that exact same machine, I noticed you can also get your payment in
Bitcoin.
In Bitcoin, we were talking about it. I said, there it is. I said, you and I will know that Bitcoin is like really taking adoption when people are like the marginalized and the disenfranchised actually are start asking for it, which really makes it so fair. And I really wanted to, and I really appreciate the fact, about your spiritual tenets and that you like wear them on your chest and you talk about prayer, because that's something that really speaks to me, right? I really adore men and women. Okay, but I'll say men of faith who will just, I say it all the time. I talk about God and I talk about prayer and I make no apologies for it, right? I mean, it's like, I believe, right? And I want my life to be a demonstration of that, not what I'm saying to you on Sunday outside of the Denny's, right? If that makes any sense. So, but with that being said, talk to me about the hope and the fairness as you see with the new blockchain, or I don't want to just limit it to Bitcoin, right? So
I think Bitcoin was the first to come out. It showed the world that it could do something that nobody had ever believed, which was to replace government-made money. But I think a lot of projects that are happening right now are much more than just
money,
financial money or a store of value. There's so much technology that's being built on top of these chains that I think is going to change your world, and everybody's going to be using it, whether they know it or not.
Right.
That's the reality. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're going to be doing transaction in Bitcoins, but they're going to be doing it. And when you think of Africa, if we bring back Africa, mobile money, which is pretty much using your cell phone company as a bank, is changing the lives of people over there. Most people that I know in Africa don't have bank accounts. It's too expensive. Like the $5 a month of fees is like it's a no.
It's
It's a
prohibitive.
non-starter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a coin called the World Mobile Token, which I was all about. Have you heard of it? I was
No,
all
I
about,
haven't.
yeah, World Mobile Token. And what they were talking about is that you can actually, it's like any other coin offering, but specifically for Africa, right? So that
Yeah.
the world, so they can actually pay with, and this is not something, a lot of times people like in the Caribbean countries, like 15 years ago, they could exchange cell phone minutes. It's the same type of medium of exchange, right? World
It
Mobile,
is.
but I wanted to get in on it. I really was so motivated. I need to find a way to invest in it, but of course, not allowed in the United States. So okay, and when something is not allowed in the United States, I just say, all right, God, it's just not for me. That's it. I look at the clear signs. Like I'm gonna go deep here. I don't know when I'm in God's will, but I always know when I'm not. That doesn't mean I always listen, but at 57, I listen a lot. My sensitivity meter goes. You know something? I had a lot of pain trying, face first in the wall, and not just a slight nudge to the right. Anyhow, I digress. So, yeah, and also let's talk about what Cardano's doing in Ethiopia. I thought it was wonderful. Did you hear about this?
I've looked into Cardano a little bit. I know that they're very centered at reaching the poor of the poor and really making a difference there. I don't really remember what happened in
Yeah.
Ethiopia.
So what they did, the entire country of Ethiopia is going to use Cardano as a smart contract for all of the entire country's school records. And you've got this problem, Ethiopia being a very nomadic. It's like we got to pick up and go 800 miles. Like, yeah, this is my son. He's a junior. Oh, he's a 3.9. No, he's 3.9. I just don't have the records. It's like, okay, we're going to write him down as 3.9. Right. And so, and I mean, that's a case that represents equity. And, another guest was talking to us a couple of weeks ago, and they're talking about like the Generation Z and the millennials when they come to leadership, because they have a consciousness of transparency and authenticity. Like they'll put it on their phone, letting everybody know where they are, right? It's and that's part of getting rid of the opacity that governments just by default have done since World War II. I want to ask you also, and this is really important, you being an entrepreneur and you doing all this hiring, and this caters specifically to us. And believe it or not, David, we've learned so much from our guests. I mean, it's made us better recruiters.
Indeed.
Right? And on how to ask hiring authorities and candidates question. And, Gregory, this podcast is outstanding in that area because there's a few things I've thought of. But in your experience, how do you see the new blockchain technology changing the world? As far as hiring, like in the job market.
I haven't given a lot of thoughts on that. There's a lot of parts of the technology that allows confidential information to be passed through without giving up the confidentiality. So, and I'm just gonna go off, shoot off the hip here, but when you're hiring someone, you really need to trust them. You wish you had a way to have a perfect track record and to know that the person that you're hiring is really that good. It's first, and so we do, like, a good recruiter will go ahead and check the references and check that, but that lots of references lie about a person's what they've done and what their capabilities are. And recruitment is about not making mistakes. It's expensive to hire the wrong person and to have them not work out, the training and everything. So I hope that there's a way that companies will be able to really speak openly about the person's track record, and that will be able to follow them in some way without breaching any confidentiality. I wonder if something like that ever will be happening, because I think that would be pretty cool for both recruiting firms, but also for the employers to know, like this person's reputation is going to follow them, and if they start doing all kinds of crazy stuff on the job, and maybe some people won't like that because they're like, well, I don't want my past to follow me everywhere. But there's so many risks when you're hiring. So I wonder if that's going to happen. But I've seen projects, maybe not at the recruiting, but that allow through smart contracts that allow for the information to be validated without, giving up their proprietary information. So maybe
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
funny that you
kinda
say
guessing.
that. So David and I have talked about this, and there's no way that LinkedIn in its current form will ever go on blockchain. And before I have David talk, I'm going to ask you, Gregory, because you're not as learned of LinkedIn from a recruiter perspective as we are. Why do you think that is? Why do you think LinkedIn will never go to a blockchain?
I don't know.
Okay. David, tell him.
Because it would be a deterrent for users.
Right, because there have been so many people who reinvent themselves. They take a job, right? They work there for 7 months, right? And then all of a sudden some time goes by.
They can't afford for the LinkedIn profile to be immutable, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be fungible.
Yeah.
They got to, the narrative has to be told in such a way where, it can be believable each time.
Yeah, somebody's got 4 jobs in 15 months. It's like, I hired a guy as a recruiter, and just to protect his anonymity, Ben, right? Yeah, you remember who he is. Yeah, so Ben actually literally, he worked for us for 5 months. Then he worked for another firm for, I think, 18 months. And then all of a sudden, then he went out on his own. And then he just decided he worked for us for 4 years. Right? And it's just like, okay, how convenient it is. Your brand is really, really looking good. So, I mean, and that's part of it. That's part of it, because that's something that should be tracked.
And our society is more and more into that. Like, you go on Amazon and you look for reviews. You're trying to see what other people have to say about what this product does or doesn't do. You go to an insurance, like you try to get health insurance, and they will, query a database of anything that they can find out about other insurance company and what they've said about you and your health. Like it exists, like the credit score system. People needed to trust. Can I trust Gregory to pay his bills? And so I have, this credit score that follows me. And so those kind of environments exist, and we use it all the time. Now, recruiting is, if you use a great recruiter and they do their work correctly, you have a really good chance of succeeding and finding a great candidate. But even then, you do have sometimes it's impossible to know.
Whoa. You said great recruiter, and that's my cue.
I wasn't talking about you guys. Right?
You better be talking about us, because we are great. No, hold on a second. So anyway, we're just going to take a second. We're going to get a word from our sponsor. And who is our sponsor, Dave?
That would be Blockchain Recruiters.
That's us. Yeah, that's right. So anyhow, so this week, I'm looking for a software engineer. Okay, in New York, in the city. They're going to pay well.
Will they go remote as well?
No.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it's too sensitive. No. And I'm looking for a trader. I'm literally looking for a crypto trader in Chicago. Also not remote. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I got. I got no candidates because I placed them all.
They're
the place.
I may have some for you.
All right.
I got a couple rules for algorithmic traders. So looking at doing algorithms, I think that's going to be a hot commodity coming.
I've never even heard. I've had nobody say, "Hey, can you find me one of those?" How did you find that? Just being you, right?
Yeah, I mean, just being curious. Yeah. So,
just for those of you who don't know, Dave Hampton here would find like gold leaf under bark of an old tree. That's what he does.
Okay. I got a senior investigator for crypto risk. So,
all right, you've had that one a while, no? Or is that the same?
Yeah, it's not a very sexy job. So,
yeah, who'd want that?
I mean, for a sexy company,
you got to be the crypto cop inside.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of it.
But I'm biased.
Everyone against Bitcoin is like, oh, it's fraudulent, crimes.
Yeah, but I'm biased. I placed auditors for the longest time, and the auditors are hated in corporate companies.
They're the bad guys.
Well, not that they are, but
it's
like
you out.
It's when the auditors are coming, there's no good news there. Right? Yeah.
Well,
so anyhow, so that's that. So, Greg, the last thing is we didn't talk in any detail. So when me and Om talked on that other matter, I was enamored. I was in awe about what I consider your secret sauce method. And I don't want to give up anything proprietary on this talk. Can you talk a little bit about that, or do you want to just keep that only for Keep that inside the red rope.
I'm not going to speak too much about it, but we really have a way of making sure that influencer campaigns, get great results. It looks organic. It scales on its own and actually educates the public. And actually, most of the time, if you get a network effect, if you get enough people talking about your project on social media, on TikTok and others, it actually starts spreading on its own. Other people, other influencers start making content talking about who you are. So I think it's all a question of how you build your campaigns, how you deploy it so that you do get that network effect, so that people start believing in your project. They're not just hearing about it, but they want to learn more and they want to go deeper.
Yeah,
so I'm going to leave it to that.
Yeah, no, that's
I can
really
share more.
No, I wanted to make sure. So basically, would you like to plug yourself or your company? Because Travis,
well, we're always we're kind of selective. We don't accept all the projects that.
Yeah, you have to have a round of funding right before they can talk to you. Let's talk about that.
Well, we do like to see projects that are serious, that have had other VCs invest in them, that have a solid team or a track record. There's so many projects going out there that we can't promote all of them. And if we wouldn't be willing to promote it with our own reputation, we don't want to propose it to our influencers either.
Understood.
Influencer marketing is a bit of reputation that you're actually talking about a project. So we really look for tier 1 type projects.
Got it.
So if that's you and you're looking to be better known, then reach out to us on our website.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I would be remiss. I'm just going to tell you, this kid, he was so engaging and so sweet and so kind, and he burned so brightly in the light. And so I would be remiss if I didn't. He's supposed to be here, and I hope. Yeah. How'd the surgery? Is he done? Is he feeling okay?
He's going to be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody survives a root canal. Just going into it, you wish you wouldn't, right? But anyhow, talk a little bit about how you guys came together, how you hired him, and now you're partner. I mean, do you mind? Because that's really important to me.
We worked at. I wasn't really his boss. We worked on a project together where I was more of the CEO and more of the funder, and he was working out on the project, and it went really well. He's such an intelligent, well-rounded person. He's so smart.
My Hampton, kind of like my Hampton.
Probably. And then when he came and told me what he was doing, for me, it was a no-brainer for me to join his team and to work on this, because it like crypto is the future of the world, and I'm happy to be in it. It's my next project until I retire again in 2026, when I go for another year trip with my family. This is what we're going to be building.
Fantastic. Gregory Van Duyse, thank you so much for just affording your time. I know how busy you are, and 7 kids and a wife, and that adds extra busy. Right? I mean, you gotta do 1, 2, like this with the finger at dinner, just to make sure everybody's there, right? But
you guys have a bus? Yeah, drive around.
We just have a minivan. The reality is my youngest is 23. She's getting married this year, and then my youngest is 3 years old. So the 23, 21, and 20 years old are already gone from the house. And
all right,
got it.
5 at home.
Yeah. So three off the payroll, right?
When you're 7, you still look 40. All right, and
okay, thank you.
I wanted to say something to you. And I was thinking it, but now I'm going to say it out loud. In 2026, when you say you're going to go on your next trip with your family, you might go with, instead of going with 2 generations like you did, right, in 2012, you might go with 3 generations, right?
Yeah.
Because the kids might bring the kids, right?
Have you considered that?
You might be bringing 30. I mean, 30 is too much, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They're going to come and visit for sure.
Yeah, Greg Van Duyse, Influx. Thank you so much. And to this was a good podcast.
It was.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yep.
My co-host, Dave Hampton.
Thank you.
Robo Recruiter. Thank you so much for all you do and the effort.
Likewise.
Yeah.
You're the one who gave me the chance. I made good on my word.
Well, you've paid like 4% of it back so far. So I appreciate it.
You got 5 more years to collect. So
we got a great relationship. It's really fair because he pushes the sled up the hill and I push it down, right? 50-50.
He more rides it down.
So anyhow, I can't tell if I'm just a little bit more ingenious with gravity than you. But anyhow, I'm David James. I'm the Job Whisperer. And remember, everybody, get whispering.